O great spirit of the north, guardian of the earth, the place of wisdom, knowledge, and discernment, we come to you and ask for strength and power to bear what is cold and harsh in life. Whatever is cold and uncertain in our life, we ask you to give us strength to bear it. Do not let the winter blow us away.
We heard you were having a hard time. We heard you were feeling down. We're gonna come over and pick you up. There's a party on our side of town. Your friends are here to cheer. You belong, so have no doubt. We would love for you to join us now. Come on over, yes, come on out.
Cheers, y'all. I'm Arthur Leland here at the Blue Skye Barn in Lyons, Colorado. Thanks for tuning in for a Colorado Hearthwarming 2020.
In the heat of the helpless deed, the universe gave way. Separated from the swelling sea, come rolling in a single wave. In the warmth of the mother's womb, the web of what's to come. Soon the days when the flowers bloom, oh, the sojourn of a burning sun. In the darkness, a grooming bride in the light of a crescent moon. As the children play seeking hide, oh, the stars will shine here soon. Our lungs are breathing life, our hearts are beating drums. In the wake of a static splash, oh, the sojourn of a burning sun. In the cauldron of all that is on the altar of your heart, every fire that has ever blazed must have started from a spark. In the shadows of the night, the bottom of the rung, the friction of the atmosphere, oh, the sojourn of a burning sun, oh, the sojourn of a burning sun.
smoke and I can't look away, even though it hurts my end to stay. I do it. After the fact, I'm on my back, twisted around the yard, reminding my eyelids not to work so hard, to hold back. And under my bed is where I'll keep you now. Next to all those other boxes I'd like to forget about, because I'm spinning, spinning, spinning we've walked the walk, we've talked so much and intertwined every part of your body into mine. Every night, well, now it's late, the lights are off, and every place that I could go would never be enough. At this hour, and under my bed is where I'll keep you now. All those other boxes I'd like to forget about, because I'm spinning, spinning, spinning out, because I'm spinning, spinning, spinning
Welcome to the Hearth. We got Daniel Rodriguez, my pal from Elephant and Revival, and Maureaux, and Cherie Maureaux from Leaf as our therapist in-house.
Greetings. We've just heard some incredibly insightful and deep music. I just want to say I'm honored to be here, and thank you for sharing your hearts with us. It's beautiful stuff. And the first song that really spoke to me here was Spinning by Miss Emma Rose. Emma, I just want to invite you to kind of talk about what that song, what inspired you to write that song, and what that means to our conversation tonight.
I wrote Spinning Out when I was in a time of dealing with one of those things that we deal with as humans that you can't solve in the moment. It's in front of you and it's making you have emotion, but you can't quite fix it right away. You spin out about it because you can't fix it. Sometimes in those moments of spinning out, I would rather put the issue away in a box under my bed, or ignore it or avoid it rather than face it, because when I face it, there's no solution, and that causes me to spin out.
I want to know about the other boxes under the bed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's talking about
seriously.
one box. Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. That with the other boxes that have been there for I don't know how long.
Yeah. I think that, in our lives, there's so many things that, we can fix. There's, the issue of, if our fridge breaks, we can get somebody to come and fix the fridge. But then, if our hearts break, there's nobody that, we are kind of left with this, how do I fix it? That's over time, and that's stuff that, you can't just quickly resolve within yourself. And over life, I feel like we all come up on those issues, and a lot of people, including myself, put them away, push them down, because facing them, dealing with them, trying to put the pieces back together of any of those things is more challenging than putting it in a box and putting it away for a while.
The truth of the matter is those things we avoid, put in a box under our bed, they don't stay in that box. They pop out. And if we are hiding them, they do pop out in usually negative ways. Sitting with those emotions and challenging ourselves to sit with those emotions and to feel them now, as uncomfortable as they might be, that's a way to get through. That's a way to grow.
Yeah. Then also we were talking about how you can name things. Once you name something, there's an emotion that you typically would put in a box, but at some point, if you feel safe or someone's holding space for you to talk about something, or you're writing a song about something, you're expressing it, you're naming it, and it somehow puts it in perspective to where you can see it in a few more dimensions than under your bed.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like when you name it and you say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is it, and you say it out loud, even to yourself. It's even better if you say it to someone else, or a peer support group, or a friend, or anyone. But even if you just say it out loud to yourself and name it, that monster in the closet suddenly isn't so scary anymore. You've separated yourself from it. You're looking at it instead of feeling it, instead of being it.
Once you name it, some other people might be like, oh, wow, I've felt that before. Maybe I could name that too, or feel the courage to do that. So.
Even when you're staring the monster in the eyes and it's not as scary, it's still overwhelming. And it's still very present and very I don't know how to deal with this. Even though I'm looking at it and I'm trying to deal with it, I don't know how. And that's where spinning out came from for me, was I'm in it and I'm trying to wade through it. Time is the heart fixer.
I texted somebody that today. I said, this too shall pass, but right now it sucks.
Yeah.
And acknowledging the sucky part is a huge piece, because everybody wants to gloss over it and just say, it's all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not. And it's okay that it's not.
Mm-hmm. We all want to skip to the step where we're okay, but the truth of the matter is we do have to go through the suck to get to the assimilation where we can accept and adapt to our loss.
Times are crazy like that.
Yeah. I mean, it says a lot in the title of it, but the the opening lines are, times are crazy, but maybe this is how it's always been. It's just a different kind of crazy,
Totally.
a new kind of crazy.
Context.
And I think in these times, it's been, terribly troubling with identity and, wherewithal. Like, people are trying to figure out how to make money, which is tied into your identity.
It's big.
And then people are at home with their loved ones more so than they would be if they were going to work. So there's all these different nuances that we have never felt before, which I think in some weird way, it's kind of beautiful. It's kind of like when you're walking through your day, if you're too absorbed in the suck, you miss the little beautiful things, like the zero in on a rose petal and find the beauty in that, or like a love letter under a magnet on the fridge. You could just walk by that if you're preoccupied. So yeah, I'm happy I wrote it because it's a friendly song. It'll be my friend for the rest of my life.
It's powerful. It's a powerful tune, and there's so many levels to the piece, like you had talked about telephone on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, so a telephone, the telephones on the Golden Gate Bridge are a lifeline for people who are about to take their own lives. So it's kind of like you've come to the ledge, you've come to the decision that this is what you're going to do, and then the telephone that is physically and literally on the Golden Gate Bridge is for that last lifeline call.
Maybe that's a discussion we should continue after the song about what are our lifelines? How can we reach out and have some some ideas and tips for sort of like coping, and how can we cope better during these crazy times?
Times are crazy, but maybe that's the way it's always been. It's just a new kind of crazy. People wandering around, wondering which way is up and down, listening for a sound, looking for a smile, just a trace of something real, a golden thread spinning on a movie reel, casting light upon a wall. Let's watch it all. Time is always good as new as your dreams, they're waiting up for you. You had another deja vu just now. Did you write it in a play, in a far-off land on a different day? And now you're walking through the curtain. You paid no mind, you paid no thought, just closing the gap of it all. Time has no time to stall, but you're always welcome to. Tell me something good, like love letters under a magnet on the fridge, a telephone on the Golden Gate Bridge, a radio signal from a far-off place, through the static you hear a trace. A chandelier, the light warming up the room. Another log on a fire, another song that you've inspired. The sweet nothing of nothing to lose. How could you refuse? static. Through the static. Something real, a golden wave flying through the atmosphere. It's bringing you closer in.
Look at the story of how you came to know all about your life is boring and you want it out. Get in your shitty car and drive far away from your old life. Kiss somebody you don't know, fall in love, but then run away. In the city, it don't matter where you come from. Yeah, in the city, everybody's on their phone all the time. In the city, it's moving fast enough to get them off your mind. Yeah, in the city. Paint a picture every day. Make yourself some coffee. Memories won't just dissipate, so you might as well get comfy. Start a garden in the yard, throw a party. I hope you dance really hard to forget all about me. In the city, it don't matter where you come from. Yeah, in the city, everybody's on their phone all the time. In the city, it's moving fast enough to get them off your mind. Yeah, in the city. your mind, to get me off your mind. Ooh, 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 ooh.
We're back. Daniel Rodriguez, Emma Rose, Cherie Maureaux. Let's do this.
Arthur Leland!
So we just heard City by the beautiful Emma Rose. And wow, those lyrics are really powerful. Can you just kind of speak to that?
I guess it's more about how like one would fit into the city when they're dealing with feelings and things that humans deal with on a more personal, inner level, and how they cope with those things and how they behave in their lives, the things that they do to move through the happenings of the heart and things that occur within oneself and within relationships.
That whole idea of just like people are always on their phone, people are always just, it's like the pace and how you can just lose yourself in that and not have to kind of forget about the stuff that's going on and just be in that kind of flow, which is fast. And sometimes artists have that slower, except for some
Well,
of
when
us.
you're on tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe potentially it's like that addiction piece or that coping mechanism piece where you can constantly distract yourself. When there's these heart core matters that we can be focusing on to sort of evolve the soul potentially, how there's so many distractions that we have that we can lean on to not really do the inner work and stuff like that. And, you know, there's like, I love being busy and I love doing things, but there comes a point where it's like, I think I'm doing too much. I'm like overlooking some really good inner work, you know?
But as a performer, as an artist, I feel like that's kind of like how we thrive, is like being busy and being like fast-paced and meeting tons of new people all the time and traveling to new places and like getting the rush of performing and being around. You know, it's easy to like not look at the things happening within your heart. And you know, if you're you know, dealing with a change or something that you don't necessarily want to face, it's easier to like move really fast and be really busy and not think about it versus like sitting quietly in the woods, right? We have like the woods
of your tour
versus
bus,
the city.
The words of your tour bus.
The metaphorical woods.
Can you bring your phone into the woods? I don't know. Is there a log?
No service.
Okay.
So,
Ooh,
Yeah, exactly.
that'd be a good next album. No service.
You guys are saying some really deep things. You're talking about coping mechanisms, avoidance, the coping mechanism of staying busy to avoid.
Yep.
But also, I also heard something about the rush of interacting with an audience. Let's talk about the losses and the changes that we've gone through in this year. There's been a loss of identity, loss of structure, loss of interacting with those audiences, and just maybe even collaboration with other artists. You know, there's a tendency to avoid and stay busy, but there's also a tendency to retract and isolate when times get hard like this. And wow, have we had some really, really horrible times this year? You know, especially we're talking as artists here. You know, the losses and the changes that have occurred in this year. I mean, like, how did you guys feel when you found out earlier in the year that you wouldn't be touring or performing?
There's just everything I feel like is double-edged.
Yeah.
Almost everything in life, it seems. But
Totally.
for that, it was like such a shock to have such this great opportunity ahead of me and have that kind of not necessarily taken away, because it potentially might happen in the future. But as we've all learned, you can't really have any expectations about much these days.
Yeah.
I've been on the road for 15 years, you know, playing 100+ shows a year. And it's really shocking to not be able to do that, because A, I don't get to see my friends, and B, I don't get inspired in the same ways of seeing my friends who do really amazing things and catching up with them. But also, I've never really felt what it's like to be home this long. So that double-edged thing of like really getting to know people who are around me and working with the close-knit community that's around me is really a blessing too. So yeah, I really want this all to end, like, and I want to get back out on the road. But at the same time, I am totally grateful for everything that's come together, you know, on the ground level.
I thought that I would have gigs in the summer of 2020. You know, when my spring gigs got canceled, I thought it'd be over by the summertime. But like what Daniel is saying is like, I think that a lot of us artists have had to find the light within this tunnel, because if you don't, it's like a really, really dark tunnel of like, it's not going to end necessarily, you know, and even, I mean, that's a whole different conversation,
So-
but like, it's just this uncertain thing that happened that is like Mother Earth, like we're humans on a planet, and we've been lucky enough to play music and play shows and make money doing that. But like, now that we can't do that, I think that this is a good segue into talking about like how our identities tie in with what we do as performers and artists. And you know, back in the spring, it was really like brought to attention what we are when we're alone, what we are when we don't have performance, and when we don't have outward affirmation all the time. You know, and so I think like we're forced to look at it in a way of like, this is beautiful in a lot of sense, you know, because if we don't look at it like that, it's like, what have we been doing with our entire lives? Like when we can't perform for people, like that's all that we know, that's all that we do.
Yeah.
So it's been a really beautiful opportunity to look at what we are when that stuff is not happening, and, you know, spend time with our loved ones and be more, you know, present.
When this whole thing started, like the great pause, right, that started in mid-March, I got diagnosed with prostate cancer in January. So I started my pause, and I was like, I can't do anything the same. I got to just like surrender to the mother and surrender to something bigger. And then I had to look at my values. Like, what am I, you know, what am I here to do? And that was literally like, well, this is, you know, I want to play music with my friends in an environment that supports people bringing their best to the thing. And when this whole Blue Skye barn thing happened, it was like, of course that's what we're going to do. And of course, everything got canceled. Well, of course, String Summit, we're going to do that here. And of course, everything is going to evolve out of doing what we do, like what's fundamental to us. Like Skye is fundamental to creating space and being a festival promoter. So it's creating the space for us to do this. And it's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to do what I do. And we did that on a microcosmic level, and then it just keeps thing. And here we are, but it's still doing it, like versus I'm out.
How do we adapt in seasons of change?
Adapt.
Seasons of change.
Thank you for that sentiment, Emma. What a beautiful segue into our next performance, Daniel's performance of Season Song, which talks about weathering the seasons of change and adapting with grace. Thank you, Daniel, for your next beautiful performance.
Thank you.
I opened a book, found a four-leaf clover. I turned the page and there was October. And as I stared into autumn's eyes, I saw a death that never died. And I watched as the leaves were turning, falling into the wind and swirling. How we break, we mend, we tremble. Well, that's how I found November. And we spend another day, another dawn, Another year, another song. And into winter we surrender, deep into its splendor. And in mirth we warm our bones, and we dream these seeds will sow. And I'll praise the birth of a star, for January's not too far. A savior like the sun it shines, it's resurrecting one more time. Then we spend another day, another dawn, another year, another song. Oh, the joys now I remember, I think I'll tell you in a letter of all the love in a budding rose, how flowers come and flowers go. And to the drunkards that dance on tables, one fell off right into April. And to the hour of a child's birth, to the evening of all her searching, then we spend another day, another dawn, another year, another song. Then we spend another day, another dawn, another year, another song. I opened a book, found a four-leaf clover. I turned the page and there was October. And as I stared into autumn's eyes, I saw death that never dies.
Over the hills you've gone, straight out my pocket to the back of the yard, and over the treetops you've fallen down, down, down. Behind the mask I saw dozens of colors, myself in awe. You were just floating the back of your
Welcome back to the Colorado Hearth Warming 2020. Daniel, Emma, and Cherie, and me.
And Arthur.
And
Leland.
Arthur.
You're a poet and you know it.
Hey, Milwaukee Street.
So we're talking about Milwaukee Street, a performance by Emma. What I heard from this was change. Was change, dealing with change, and that's kind of been a theme, a continuing theme of our conversation. Can you speak to it?
I think that as songwriters, a lot of our songs tie into a lot of the same themes. And Milwaukee Street specifically, I think I wrote it about like being kind of a spacey human, feeling far from situations a lot of the time that I'm in situations. And I wrote it from a different perspective, a perspective on somebody else who does that, because I have met a lot of humans that I admire and love that are the same way, and I recognize this behavior in them, but it's kind of like an isolating, disassociating behavior of like, we'll be in a public setting, but like just over here, like in some other land. Milwaukee Street is about that a lot. Yeah.
The coping mechanism of disassociation, of separation from others, of feeling apart from others.
But also the art that comes from that.
The art that comes from it.
That's a place where you create your own reality in your own world. You're a romantic and an artist, and it's that, to me, Milwaukee Street just epitomizes that feeling and the experience, because it's so, like, out of all the tunes that we're playing in this series, that particular tune is just, it's the vibiest,
it's
man.
vibey.
It's super cool. Yeah. And it really, and it takes you, like, you're out, but then it's that calling of like down
to earth.
Down.
Yeah. And often, like, I think that I wrote that chorus as like a calling to my own self to come back to the present moment and to like what's going on around me, because often I get floaty in my head and I'm like completely far away from what's happening in the real world.
What I'm hearing is the need to grounding exercises, remembering to ground ourselves, but at the same time appreciating the art that comes from being ungrounded.
Yeah.
At the very same time. So it's almost like it's the art of dialectical thinking, the good and the bad at the same time, and holding both truths to be true at the same time, appreciating what it gives you, but also understanding that that there may need to be some adaptation to just kind of be part of regular life.
Mm-hmm. In my life, there's been a lot of feeling far away from my social circles. There's been a lot of like, I'll be in a situation where I feel very out of place and like uncomfortable, and so I go somewhere else in my own mind. I don't know if you can relate to that.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, well, I think if I go to a social setting, I'm like, okay, do I really have to have small talk? Because at that point I just completely check out, and I'm like thinking about the geometry of the building that we're in, or like someone says something and I'm like, okay, I'll write a song off that. But I don't really necessarily want to talk about other people or places that people went to. So you can get a little disassociated or like isolated in that. But I guess that maybe perhaps the trick is to like, instead of getting completely isolated, to nudge people into a more abstract place if you're an abstract thinker. Because as an artist, I don't want to like necessarily talk about likes and literalies. I want to talk about ideas and how to make the world a better place. And if that's not happening, maybe it's up to us to like shift the conversation into that direction rather than giving completely up on it, which I tend to do a lot, is just give up on it.
because it's a lot energetically to do that. And often I feel like if I'm in that energetic situation, I don't choose to be like, I'm going to talk about this thing with everybody. I'm
Right.
like, I'm going to go right in my bedroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, have
I'm
a
out.
good,
I'm out.
good to meet you all. Goodbye.
Early when we were talking about the shadow, I was reminded about that idea of that when you're holding a, like not dealing with the shadow is like holding a beach ball under the water. It takes a lot of energy to hold that under the water
like that.
and not deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're really dealing with it, but you're not. Because you're
Energy.
still.
And it's
yeah,
awkward. You're like,
Oh,
exactly.
you have to move it to everywhere it goes.
Exactly. And yet it's not.
might as well just take it up out of the water and play with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
We all are dealing with that, and I think it's been not talked about enough, and like not put out into like creating a space, a safe space for humans to feel like, yeah, I'm dealing with this. Here it is. I'm going to deal with it. It's the inherent kind of reaction is to put it under your bed or put it under the water.
yeah.
When like we're all dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
And if we all come out and say it at the same time, like we all have a beach ball and we all
Yeah.
have a box and like let's all deal with it together.
Multiple
It makes
boxes
it a
and
lot
multiple beach balls.
easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Amen.
Look at.
We're talking about naming it, naming it,
Yeah.
finding
Yeah.
a peer support group, naming it, talking to the people that are going through it, knowing that you're not alone, finding your outlets for expression, and working through it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it alone.
That's
Yeah.
key.
If you bring something up that the beach ball or the thing under the bed, if you end up bringing that up in a conversation, perhaps you give someone else the courage to, like, oh yeah, I've felt that. You know, I'd love to talk about that. That'd be a huge weight off my shoulders. So.
Isn't that why we're all here tonight? To name these things and to remind each other that even in these times of isolation, that we're all going through this stuff together. That we're not alone. That these are common, not common, but
they're common.
They're common problems. Yeah,
are.
it's so easy to get lost in our mind and to think it's just us,
Yeah.
just us going through it.
I mean, the human drama is probably pretty simple. We just complicate it quite a bit by shoving everything. I don't know, maybe at some point in our past we were made to think it was uncouth to bring these certain things up because we'd feel shame about them. But the
Shame.
more shame that we feel about certain things, the more we don't want to talk about it. And it
Whole other
just,
topic.
Yeah.
anyway, yeah,
Shame.
we got to play more songs.
This song is called Why Does Everything Gotta Go On Changin'? Slow time in the city, so slow I might drown. Slow time in the city, nothing going on in this town. Won't you take a little time off the road? Sleep on a pallet somewhere. Won't you take a little time off the road? The speed is in the way that she stares, like a flower blooming all alone.
turning for good. The books inside my room are fading. The leaves are turning for good. Why does everything gotta go on changing? Like a flower blooming all alone.
Good graces, now, please come on in. Good graces, now, please come on in. I've written you from afar, but now I'm coming in. I place my many masks upon the walls of your dynasty. I've drank your water, I'm drunk on your wine. And I'll drop the reins for you, my friend, from time to time. Good graces, now, please come on in. Good graces, now, please come on in. I feel your wind, it blows on through. To bring you in is what our breath can do. The gates have opened, the walls have all burned down. And inside the ashes, our feet dance, dance around. Good graces, now, please come on in. Good graces, now, please come on in. Good, good graces, now, now, please, come on in. Good, good graces, now, now, please, come on in. I've written you from afar, but now I'm coming in.
I just want to thank you guys for being here and sharing your gifts, and also just being good friends. Because it's like, even though we've just met not that long ago, no, it's serious. Like this is like family immediately.
Who knows how
it
long
came.
ago we've met.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So, and we have a special thing in Lyons. This is a benefit for Leaf. And Cherie, you're the house therapist and holds Zoom meetings every
And
Thursday.
everybody behind the curtain.
Absolutely. We have a huge crew of the Blue Sky Barn, including
Oh,
Skye McDowell and Tess, who have kind of, this is their house and this is their space that we have been able to, have this conversation. And so I want to thank everybody, and we're going to continue to do this. So, bless.
So much
Thank
gratitude.
you.
Cheers. Cheers.
The clouds are really clearing now, and the moon she's shining through. We have a seat, just be yourself. There's nothing else for you to do.
Your friends are here to cheer. You belong, so have no doubt. We would love for you to join us now. Come on over, yes, come on out. Your friends are here to cheer. You belong, so have no doubt. We would love for you to join us now. Come on over, yes, come on out. We would love for you to join us now. Come on over, yes, come on out.
Good, good graces, now, now, please, come on in. Good, good graces, now, now, please, come on in. I've written you from afar, but now I'm coming in.